The word of the night is puddle-tastic.
Puddle-tastic.
All right, we're live. Let's get this show on the road. Welcome to the Iron Sysadmin podcast, your source for IT news, commentary, and a healthy dose of paranoia. All right. Good night, everybody, and welcome to episode 42.
Good
the
night.
Ultimate Answer.
We just got here.
Good evening. Sorry. Good.
Good
I guess good night is usually a I'm going away.
What you did?
Sorry.
Oh,
it is a night. It's
look.
good evening.
I know you wanted it to be a short show, but geez.
Yep, that's it, guys. Show's over.
Oh boy, it's starting already. How much have you had to drink?
None, actually.
Oh, that's too bad.
No beer tonight. Too hot for beer.
All right, episode 42. This is the perfect one.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Try not to screw it up, okay?
Sorry, I'm attempting to let the Slack work group know that the show is live, and I said tonight the show is life. The show is life, folks.
It is. It makes sense. It's show 42. It's the ultimate answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Die. It's life. God, we're experiencing a bit of a heat wave, folks, and I'm in this like oven of an attic with my Dell Precision workstation that sounds like it's about to take off because the fan is running so darn fast. So
I have an air conditioner in my room, which I will leave disabled because if I turn it on, all you hear is the air conditioner.
Yeah, I actually left the fan running tonight because there was no way I was going to turn it off. Normally I turn it off for the show, but holy crap.
Things I do for this show.
Me too.
I need a stunt double.
Stunt double. Yes. That's a great transition. See, we are getting better at this. Transitions and everything. All right, guys. So this is how it ends. I mean,
no, this is how it begins.
No, this is how it ends. This is how mankind is overthrown by the robots. So Disney, who, even though their primary claim to fame is making animated movies and overpriced theme parks, they also have a reputation for making animatronics and robots, right? I mean, I'm not the only one that's heard that before, right?
Yep, that's them.
Apparently, I mean, they've been doing this for so long, for over 50 years, according to the article, that they have finally developed what appears to be a decent replica of a person in which they can use in stunts. They can use it as a stunt double. There's this neat little animation in the article. It's from TechCrunch, by the way. I'll link in the show notes. Of him flying across a trapeze. Well, him or her, I suppose it's a robot. It flying across a trapeze and into the sky, and it strikes a pose, and it falls into this cool net. And obviously, this is the sort of thing that looks like it'd be really dangerous for a person to do. And yeah, the robot does it with ease, never questioning its makers.
Well, for the moment.
For the moment, exactly. See, this is how it ends, right? So the next thing is there's going to be they're going to build an AI so that the robots can think while they're flying through the air. And the robots are going to decide that he's in the middle there. First we'll try to make them clean up all of our garbage for us. No, we're already there, aren't we? Then we'll try to make them build all of our automobiles. Oh, we're already there, aren't we? Then we'll try to, well, you get the point.
Yep.
So yeah, sorry folks. I think we got a few more years left in humanity, and then the robots are going to uprise, and we're all going to die. It's a shame, really. I guess humanity had a good run, huh? No?
I don't know. That's a hard question to answer.
It's a hard question to answer.
Yeah, so this is pretty slick. I mean, it's worth checking this out and kind of reading through it and seeing the different videos they have.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Um,
Pretty neat stuff. I didn't. It's a pretty long article. I skimmed through most of it because there's a lot of backstory, a lot of history, a lot of everything in there about the history of animatronics at Disney and things. So if you want to get to just the good parts, skip to about halfway through, maybe. It's about what I did.
yeah, and play through there's a couple videos in there
Yeah, there's a
that
couple
show you
cool
some of the
videos in
neat
there.
stuff. So,
A couple cool videos. So speaking of had a good run, how about that old HTTP?
not dead yet.
Not dead yet. So Slashdot, I mean, is more of an opinion piece, I think, than a news article, but whatever. I actually sort of agree with it, so that's why I'm
Yep.
including it here. So you probably are aware, dear listener, that Google has decided that in Chrome, they're going to start marking non-HTTPS websites as not just not secure, but insecure, as in it's going to pop up a warning saying, hey, this website is not secure. Not just on fields that may contain that you may be entering data into, but anything, whether it's a static page, a form submission, or whatever, right? It's going to give you a warning saying this site is not secure and you shouldn't go here. And the article on Slashdot, again in the show notes, software developer Dave Winner. I'm going to say Winner. I don't know who this guy is, but whatever. Apparently, he's well regarded in the industry. Is criticizing Google's plans to deprecate HTTP, and the ground that he's standing on is that there are plenty of sites out there that do not require security. They don't require an encrypted connection,
Right.
and those sites should be allowed to continue because a lot of those sites. I mean, you've all run across those sites that look like they were written in 1980. A lot of those sites aren't really maintained. They're just there for the history of it, right? They're there because they're serving a purpose, and that purpose doesn't require privacy.
Right. And those sites aren't asking you for details that need a secure pipe. And they're probably running on old hardware that doesn't have the capability of doing, lots of traffic in a secured manner. So
Right. So I don't know. I think I kind of agree with him. I get that most sites probably should be HTTPS by now. All of my sites are, whether I think they need it or not. I think all of your sites are, whether they need it or not.
Yep.
Now you're thinking about it like, I don't know, are they?
Yeah, no, it's easier just to do it. But
yeah,
we're also techs. I mean, that's what we do.
Let's Encrypt had really enabled all that. I can get SSL certs for free, and I can automate the renewal, so it's not a big deal, right? That's cool. But yeah, I could. If you're running something for the sake of nostalgia, even, it may not support or require any level of security. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't need it. Doesn't need it. But the problem here is that Google is going to pop up in the browser now, and it's going to have this big. Well, I don't know if it's been seen yet. I mean, the Chrome browser that I installed to do this podcast and that I will destroy immediately upon ending the podcast doesn't do this. I mean, I can go to www.example.com on just HTTP, and it doesn't give me some big warning about being insecure, but it might eventually.
Yeah, it doesn't yet. I know they're planning for it too. I don't know when it's supposed to happen, and the article I don't think goes into detail as to when this is supposed to happen. But I heard about it months ago, and we may have even talked about it on the show. But I had the same qualms about it then, that there are sites that do not require SSL, and while sure, it's probably good practice to just turn it on now anyway, there shouldn't be a requirement.
Yeah, so
I don't think there should be a requirement.
Let's see. Chrome currently, if you enter data into a website that's HTTP, it'll pop up a not secure warning next to the URL.
And that's fine because that anything where you're entering data, the browser doesn't know whether that data is sensitive or not.
Right.
So it sees a form submission field and it says, "Hey, this might be a bad idea." But that's a warning. It's not a block, right? So are they going to actually prevent us from going to HTTP sites? If so, I think that's a bit too far.
Yeah. So I'm playing with this now. I went to the W3C validator site, which
Yeah.
is HTTP because it doesn't need to be HTTPS.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment you start typing in there, it pops up and says, "Hey, you're not secure." Okay, cool. What this linked article, the article that I'm on, which is linked from the original article we were talking about, says
Yeah.
is that the browser is going to label all HTTP sites as not secure.
Right.
Which I think is, I don't know. I have to agree. I think that's not a good way to go about it.
I mean, so warning you that it's not secure in a way that is unobstructive, I think is okay. Right? So it's not preventing you from viewing the site. But if it's
Right.
the usual sort of SSL warning style thing, like where you come across a site where you don't trust the CA, or where you come across a site where the certificate is expired and it actively tries to prevent you from going to the site, if they go that far, I think it's too far. That's the point I'm making.
Well, the point that this guy's making is that even labeling it as not secure, just because it's HTTP is too far, because people are going to go there and go, "Oh no, it's Google says it's not secure. I better stay away from this site." It's almost like a chilling effect, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know that I disagree with them. I think that's right. I mean, not everybody's attacked. They don't understand what that means. And Google says it's not secure. Oh no, my computer's going to get infected.
Yeah, you're right. It's got that negative connotation with it.
So now, if it was a WordPress site, it may actually be not secure though.
It may be, at least right now, until they patch this new, yet again, flaw in WordPress. So all you
Yes.
WordPress outers out there, you've got some more fuel for the fire. The Hacker News reports. I'm trying to see what the date is on this article, on the 26th. So it's like last week. Maybe you've heard about this already. There is yet another flaw in WordPress. This one sounds kind of nasty, although it's at least protected by the attacker has to have an account on your WordPress site.
Right.
That's not exactly.
Authenticated arbitrary file deletion.
But I mean, so what I'm kind of wondering is if you want to work, if you run a WordPress site that makes people register so they can do things like comment,
Right.
and it's open for registration, is that enough? Is it enough for
Mm,
someone to just sign up for an account and then they can own your site? I think so, because it
I don't know.
says could allow a
That's
low
possible.
privileged user to hijack the whole site and execute arbitrary code on the server. Now, I don't know how they get arbitrary code out of because supposedly the exploit is, it's in the image, or I should say file handling core code of WordPress
Right.
that allows you to do things like delete your an image that you've uploaded, right? So I've uploaded an image to my blog post or whatever, and then I want to go and delete that image. Apparently, the code that allows you to delete the image can accept unsanitized input from an authenticated user. So,
I believe the technical term for that is oops.
yeah, oops. Trying to see, the article does give you some examples of like nasty things you could do.
Yeah, you apparently can't read files that way, but you can overwrite them. So you could overwrite the config for WordPress itself, point it
Yeah,
at an external database,
right.
gain
Well,
admin privileges, and then you have local access.
yeah, that's not cool.
No,
So yeah,
no.
bad stuff.
They did say that the researchers provided a hotfix that you can apply to fix this, though.
That's good. Maybe I'll go find it. I mean, for all I know, WordPress has patched this by now. We should probably try to find that out. Is there a CVE on here that might tell us?
No, it said it was reported 7 months ago, though.
Yeah. Yeah, but now it's like, oh my God,
Well,
everybody knows about it.
it was posted by Ripstech 7 months ago.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
see.
I don't know then.
How the hell do you, where is the, I've never downloaded WordPress. How do I download WordPress? Download. I just want to see what version it is
I think it's
currently.
WordPress.org.
WordPress.org/download. 4.9.6 is the current stable release. So
And
no,
that's,
not
yeah, they
patched.
say 4.9.6 is still vulnerable.
Yep. So,
And folks, this is why I auto update my WordPress. As soon as there's a patch available, my sites will be updated.
but until then, they're not. So
Until then, they're not. So I'm going to make sure
all
no one signs up for a user account.
all you folks with accounts, you can totally own a site right now.
Yeah, that's me. I don't think anyone else has an account. If they do, I don't know about it. And that's a whole other problem.
Right. Right.
Speaking of other problems,
They probably got your password while you were on wireless because that WPA2 standard just isn't
yes.
cutting. It's just not cutting it anymore.
Yep. So I will fully admit I don't know a whole lot about WPA2 or WPA3 and what the real difference is, except that one is bad, one is okay, and one is brand new.
Yeah, WPA2 plus.
Plus, right. So
That makes
also
it
from the
WPA3.
Hacker News, WPA3 is a standard now. They go into detail, or at least they mentioned that this is supposed to fix the crack attack, and there was another one, wasn't there?
The crack attack is the big one.
I thought there was a second one they mentioned in the
That's the
article.
key reinstallation attack.
Yeah.
Let's
Protection
see.
against brute force attacks. WPA3 forward security or secrecy.
Yep.
Protecting public open Wi-Fi networks. Wow. Wonder how they figured that out. Strengthens user privacy and open networks.
Yeah, so WPA3.
Oh, that's cool.
WPA3 uses opportunistic wireless encryption, which is kind of
cool. That's cool.
Strong
encryption for critical networks. Yay.
So
Wi-Fi Easy Connect. Didn't they try
yeah.
that with WPA2 where like you go hit a button on your router and then like hit a button on your phone and it's supposed
to Yeah, and I believe the current recommendation is turn that off.
Turn that crap off. It's garbage.
So I'm reading a book right now that
Surprise.
I can't remember the name of called Terms of Use.
Okay.
It's I have no idea where this came from. But it appeared in my list of things that I wanted to read. I must have stumbled across it a while ago. Anyway, I'm in the middle of reading it, and at one point it's all about hacking and conspiracy theories and all sorts of other stuff. But
I don't know how you would have stumbled across that.
They go into depth about how he pulls up next to a place that he was looking to get some information from, and breaks through their WPA3 encryption because it was put out. Everybody started putting it out on everything. It became pretty much ubiquitous across the world. They found a major vulnerability in it, and everybody went, it's going to be really hard to fix, so we're just going to ignore that. And never did. This book has already predicted that WPA3 has a massive hole in it, so
this is a book of fiction, in the words.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now.
Yes. I just thought it was funny that you brought this up, and I didn't know that WPA3 was a thing yet.
It totally is now.
So this book predicted it. It's already predicted the hole.
Yay. Speaking of holes, oh, that's terrible.
Wait, so WPA3 is set to roll out later this year and is expected to hit mass adoption in late 2019 when it eventually becomes a requirement for devices to be considered Wi-Fi certified. Oh, okay. So they're going to make WPA3 a requirement for certification at the end of 2019. Okay. Makes sense.
And then it's going to roll out everywhere, and then they're going to find the hole.
Yep, as usual.
Yeah.
Speaking of holes, I don't know how that works.
I'm sorry.
I tried to do the same thing. It just didn't work.
Yeah, I can't.
The transition doesn't work.
Hey, Gentoo. Apparently, some malicious code has been published to Gentoo's GitHub account. I think it's already gone.
Yeah.
But it happened, so we're talking.
Microsoft gains control of GitHub. Gentoo gets hacked.
Huh, that's weird, right?
Just a coincidence, right?
Weird stuff. So this is another one where I sort of skimmed over this. Basically, malicious code ended up on their GitHub account. But it's not because someone broke into their GitHub account. Apparently, they host their own repo, as you'd expect from a place like Gentoo Linux. And they then clone it to GitHub. It's like downstream of their repo, and it ended up on their repo. So, I mean, better or worse, I don't know what you'd call that. Their private repo that they run somehow got compromised. And now nasty code ended up on their GitHub account because of it. So yeah, if you downloaded anything from Gentoo's GitHub account on the 26th, I think they said it was.
I think that's wrong. I think they gained access to the GitHub account itself, according to what I'm reading here.
What? That's not what I read just a few minutes ago. Did they change it?
An unknown group of hackers or an individual managed to gain access to the GitHub account of the Gentoo Linux distribution.
Okay. Never mind then. I must have skimmed it too quickly.
Yes.
Agreed. This is why we have you on the show, because Dustin doesn't correct me. He just rolls with it.
So they replaced a bunch of eBuild scripts. Their eBuilds are basically the bash script that does the building. And instead of building, it it deletes everything. So if you downloaded a bad copy of Gentoo and you've gone to install it, you're already aware that it's a bad copy.
Yeah, so hey, don't install it again.
Yeah. Oh, something went wrong. Do it again.
Don't install it again. Yeah. So yeah, not much more to say about that.
The Gentoo Mirror repositories are hosted under a separate GitHub organization and likely not affected.
Oh, is that what I read? I just read it backwards. I'm sorry. I am fact dyslexic.
Gentoo assured its users that the incident did. So yeah, you got it backwards. So what they're saying is that the GitHub account was affected, and the files were changed there. But that's just a mirror of their master repository, which was not compromised. So there.
That like fact lexic, yes.
I guess,
but facts.
Yep. So if you can just find the time warp in Vegas, you'll be able to go back and fix that little mistake of yours.
Man, you're getting good at this. And this nice lady from Fox News will tell you all about it.
The moment you click on the link.
The moment you open it. So turn off your speakers if you don't want to hear this lady talk about time warps.
We know this. So you have to follow me here. We know this story is true because Fox News is the only non-fake news site on the internet.
You had to work that in there, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to.
So I mean, it's from a credible source, Fox News. It talks about time dilation in Las Vegas, which everyone knows it's easy to lose track of time in Las Vegas, and it's near Area 51. Yep. I mean, what else do you need? Oh, and they scienced it.
Yes.
She's holding this interesting little blue gadget, which looks sort of like an insulin pump.
It looks exactly like an insulin pump with a different label on it.
Yeah.
It looks 3D printed, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. Well, I mean, if you're gonna make your own tools, you may as well 3D print them, right?
I guess.
I didn't watch the video of the nice lady telling us about the time warp.
I did. Is
it as bad as it should be?
I mean, she humors him. So
she doesn't buy into it, in other words.
So
she's just yeah, totally, there's a time warp. Okay, cool, we're gonna get you on the news.
Here's how this works. So this guy created, or somebody, actually, I'm not sure that this guy created it, but there's a thing called a DT meter, a differential time rate meter. Apparently they missed the R. It should be a DTR meter, I think. Anyway, so what this is a little blue box.
Yeah,
looks like with 100-foot cable on it.
Okay.
Right? And I've gone ahead and deduced how this thing works based on what he's saying. They're basically pinging a device at the end of the 100-foot cable.
Okay.
And the theory is that 100-foot ping should have the exact same round trip time no matter where you are. Unless the end of the 100-foot cable is inside a time warp. In which case, it will not have the same time. It'll be slower.
Well, this is totally science.
Yeah. Yep. Look, it worked for the graviton detector. Graviton? Is that what it was?
I don't know.
Uh, that big, humongous, mile-long thing that the scientists created to prove that. Oh, gravity waves. The gravity wave detection thing. Anyway, um, it sounds feasible, but it's goofy. Anyway,
What
this is
I
this is a
really want to know is why. I don't know if yours is like this, but in my browser, this article has like a mile of white space at the end of it.
I don't know that I. Yeah, look at that. It's
I
the
think
aliens.
there must be hidden text in here. We have to analyze this.
Actually, I know what it is. I'll
It's
bet.
it's like it's like a billion.
Oh, maybe not.
It's
So
a billion non-breaking spaces
my
at the end of the thing.
my wife ran across this today and sent me a
Even
copy
the
of
footer is weird.
sent me a copy of the article from her phone. So I thought maybe it was a mobile link, but
It doesn't appear to be.
no,
I
it
don't know.
doesn't. Very weird.
It's totally weird.
Um,
So we can pick apart their website design, but I think there's plenty of other things to pick apart with this particular article. Time warp. There's time warp. If you need your weekend in Vegas to seem longer, or is it shorter? I don't know.
what?
Which way is the time dilation going?
Why is a paranormal researcher looking for time warps?
Because it's paranormal.
Okay.
Paranormal is not just spirits and werewolves, man. It's like anything that's not normal.
Okay.
Time warps are not normal.
I guess I'm just used to the paranormal researchers looking for the ghosts.
Well, that's what's popular.
It's all about the popular.
All about the popular. So that about closes up the news. All right, the news in record time because I may have a heat stroke if we stay up.
I think I've had two already. So
you've had 2 heat strokes already? Wow.
I think so.
It's terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yep.
So the only announcement I've got is that the DEF CON 610 meetup is this Thursday, which Jason, I'm sure, won't make.
No, not gonna make it.
Give it all she's got, Captain.
Hey, so it turns out that link, I think, is actually a mobile link. Fox News just does really weird things with their links.
Sure doesn't look like one, but okay.
It's that .amp at the end. Yeah, we're gonna test this right now. If I put in
fix that.
Yep, that's it.
So that takes away all the so on mobile devices you get ridiculous amount of white space. Just
yeah, I mean obnoxious amount of white space. It must. I don't know. Anyway, all right. So that problem solved. Fox News is dumb. Okay. Yeah. So Thursday is the DC 610 meet. I will be not in the state again. So.
Well, what's wrong with you? Why would you want to leave such a beautiful state?
I just hate everybody. So.
You hate everybody.
I don't know. It's just sort of the thing that came to me.
That's just horrible. Why would you hate everybody? Man, you're just a bad person.
Yeah, all the cool people are going to be at that DC 610 meet though. Sounds like some people who don't normally make it out are going to be able to make it out because it's on Thursday.
See that? Maybe we need to move them to Thursdays.
So you never want me to go again?
Well, not really, but
folks, it sounds like Nate has it in for me.
Yep, that's it. So,
I will be at Hope this year.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep, Junior has a talk, so I just paid the exorbitant fee for a ticket. Well, it's not. I guess it's not that exorbitant compared to some other cons, but I just plunk down the cash for a ticket in a hotel room, and I will be at Hope.
Cool. So he's talking. I assume he got his ticket free. You need
Yeah.
a ticket for you though.
Yeah. It turns out I have to be there.
Tell him to get his own way there.
I know.
I mean, he could he got a bike, doesn't he?
Maybe.
He should.
Yeah, he's got a bike.
Good.
So what's this YouTube link stuck in here?
Yeah, so I tried something new. I don't know if you guys saw it. I pushed it out via Twitter earlier this week, but I'm trying something. Huh?
Tweet.
Yeah. I tried something new. I did sort of a short video and published it on the Iron Sysadmin YouTube channel. I'm calling it an Iron Sysadmin snippet. See how that works? It's creative, damn it. Laugh. It's totally creative.
Okay. Ha.
Don't.
Ha ha.
Ha ha ha. Terrible. Anyway, I'm going to put a link to the show notes. I just thought we could sort of promote that a little bit. I'm going to try to do more of them, I think. Jason, you're welcome to do some if you ever wanted to.
Yeah, my copious spare time.
Yep.
I will make with the snippet links.
Well, so for the Jeep YouTube channel, sometimes if I just have a thought, I'll be driving to work, and since my phone is already on my dash staring right at me, I'll just turn on the camera and record a quick video while I'm driving. And, you know, don't obviously it's not consuming my my attention. Don't be sending me hate mail about driving distracted. It's just recording me as I talk. It's just no worse than talking on speakerphone. But anyway, and then I'll edit it after I get to wherever I'm going or later that night or whatever into like a short episode of some sort, almost like a vlog or something.
A vlog? Wow.
A vlog.
A vlog. Great.
You're familiar with the term, aren't you? I hope so.
Yes.
You are.
Yes.
Well, I mean, a year ago you didn't know what pod fading was, so.
That's just dumb. I know what a vlog is. They've been around long enough. Damn it.
So if
in my
podcasts that have faded. So anyway, go check it out. I thought it came out pretty good, and with no editing or anything. I pretty much just recorded it and posted it. So there you go. So yeah, you have anything fun going on, or are you just busy working as usual?
Let's see. My credit card got stolen. We had a big leak in the house. No, it's been good.
It's been totally good.
Yeah, so I suspect, given my habits with the credit card, that you will be hearing about a breach of something in the next couple months. Because I haven't changed or used my credit card anywhere new in a long time. So, you know, I've been going back trying to look and see where I've used it, but I suspect there's somebody got breached again. So
you're saying it couldn't possibly be your fault, is what you're getting at?
I don't think so. Maybe.
Couldn't be your own fault.
I physically, well, until I shredded it, I physically had the card in my possession. So
yeah,
and I stopped posting it on my blog as a regular part of everyday internet usage. So
well, see, that's a good start. I mean,
yeah, that's what I thought. So
well, you know.
Oh no, somebody's highlighting all the things.
You sure? Yeah, I was going to copy. I was starting to edit the post for the show, but I realized these show notes may change before we finish recording.
No changing the show notes.
No. Okay.
So no, I did that, but then just kind of working around the house and
you sure it didn't get skimmed? I know you're paranoid about skimmers, but some of them are pretty damn convincing.
I have not used. It's possible, I guess, but I really haven't used that card anywhere. And I usually check for skimmers first anyway. So I mean, it's possible, but given where I go and where I use the card, I'd be surprised if anybody bothered putting skimmers there. I mean, it's small towns, so. But
yeah,
who knows?
Well,
who knows? All right, fine. It's my fault. I wrote the number down on a piece of paper and pasted it to somebody's head and let them walk around with it.
I mean, it's a good way to not forget your card number, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking. So outside of that, just home maintenance stuff and uh, playing with new technology stuff and just kind of hanging out. Actually been playing a lot with our main topic today, so we could go there
Yeah.
and then we could talk about that.
Is that why this came up? Okay, cool.
I just happened to be working on some stuff today and just came out as our topic because it's
Cool.
easier for me to talk about things I'm doing.
All right, well then I guess we will move along into the main topic, huh?
Make with the topic making noise.
I'm totally going to do that. Just remember, it's Danny's fault. If anyone's trying to get a hold of me in Slack, I had to close it because Danny was being chatty in some other channel that I'm in.
He was?
Yeah. And it was making all the ticky noises in the podcast. So you guys have heard the ticks now. The tick, 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 the Slack noise.
Oh, I pretty much silenced him. So, I mean, hi, Danny.
Yeah, hi, Dan. We love you. Yeah.
Ooh.
For anyone unfamiliar, Danny is the... I don't know. I hesitate to say brains, but the organizer there behind the DEF CON 610 group. Co-organizer? I don't know. He's got a couple of us helping, including Jason, who's never there.
I fail.
You fail. So anyway, monitoring. He just set up a ping sweep and monitor for when the pings fail, right? Then we're done?
Yeah. So back in the day, a former colleague of ours wrote this thing called Pinger.
Ping sweep. Yay!
Unfortunately, he lost his battle with brain cancer a little while ago. But
oh, really? I had no idea.
The original Pinger, was written in KSH. It was KSH.
Awesome.
And is actually one of the things that got me cutting my teeth on writing shell scripting. It was pretty slick. I mean, it was named Pinger because, well, I mean,
it pinged.
It pinged a lot, and eventually
pinged a whole lot.
Yeah, to the tune of like thousands of things a minute. It was actually pretty slick, and eventually we hit a point where it was just sort of too big because Pinger became thing. It pinged. It checked web ports. It did all sorts of other stuff too, and you. Pinger was configured by exporting the spreadsheet from Excel.
Oh.
and using that, you started Pinger by giving it that, and it would parse it and build the databases that it needed. And then
it used like a CSV or something?
Yeah.
Oh, yep. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wish I had the code. Pinger was pretty slick. So I eventually rewrote Pinger in Perl, where I learned that threading can give you nightmares and cause really weird things to happen.
Before you guys rag on Jason for using Perl, this was like, what, late 90s? Early 2000s?
Yeah, I think it was like late 90s.
Yeah, Perl was completely normal then.
Yep. So
not despised. I mean, it was despised, but it was normally despised.
Yeah. I wrote a good chunk of Perl before that on various different things, and then I took that and said, I can rewrite Pinger and make it faster, and make it do more things. And threading would make it work wonderful because then I could do multiple things simultaneously.
Right.
There's a large chunk of Perl that is not thread safe. And when you hit those things that are not thread safe, the world comes crashing down in new and interesting ways, and it is like impossible to debug. So the Perl version then became single threaded again, but it worked. And as far as I know, it's still being used. I know the ticketing system that I had a hand in developing is still in use. So
that's also Perl.
Yes, that is also Perl. So from there, Now at that point, there were other monitoring systems out there. What's Up Gold was one that was fairly popular for a while. I used it a little bit. It was mostly I sort of stumbled into it in places that already had it up and running. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't that great either. And I went through some commercial ones that I can't remember the names of, that you would never want to run because they were obnoxiously expensive. The the biggest, I wish I could remember the name of this one because this one was obnoxious. You paid for, not only did you pay per host that you're monitoring, you paid per type of monitoring. So if you pinged it, you paid for that. If then you use like a telnet check or an SSH check, you had to pay for that.
That's horrible.
Oh yeah, like and the company that I was with, because it was so expensive, would sacrifice monitoring certain things because they didn't want to pay the licensing costs. And it wasn't a one-shot deal; it was
That's a
yearly
terrible
renewal.
Wow.
But according to them, it was endlessly. You could monitor millions upon millions of things and never have a problem. I don't remember the thing ever working properly, but apparently it was never a problem.
Never a problem.
Yeah. So from there, I stumbled on Nagios and played with Nagios for years. Matter of fact, I still have some Nagios running that I mess around with every once in a while. Nagios is slick. It's written in, I think most of it's in C and PHP.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Most of it I think is in C.
The front end's PHP and the back end I think is all C.
Yeah.
And I think there's like some Perl scripts and whatever and shell scripts that make like the actual the plugins work.
Yeah. So
yeah,
the neat thing about Nagios is that you can monitor anything as long as you can write a script to do the monitoring. So Nagios,
right.
it's in and of itself, the Nagios engine is it's almost like a scheduler, and you schedule events, and then when those events fire, it reports back to Nagios in a special format that Nagios understands that says like, "Yep, cool, got this data back, we're all good." And then if there's a problem, Nagios will alert you. The config is pretty straightforward. It can get complex, and it can get complex very quickly. And there's a ton of redundancy in it, config-wise, where you end up having large blocks of config for simple checks because you have to label everything. You can't. There's no programmatic way to say, I've created a new service called check websites, and I want to run it against all the websites. You have to actually go into each website that you're checking and say, use this service, in like these different groupings. So that's sort of a pain in the neck. So it works well, but the config language can be a little difficult. Nagios has a commercial version called Nagios XI, which was a I had built a Nagios instance and started kind of linking in of various different bits and pieces. So there's a graphing system called PNP for Nagios that I really liked, that I had linked in, along with some different front ends and some plugins and some other stuff. And I had gotten pretty close to the original release of Nagios XI, the commercial version.
Yeah.
And then I got, after sort of having to maintain all of that together and deal with it, and being too busy to actually do that, the company I was with moved to purchase Nagios XI. I ran that for a while, so that was pretty slick. More recently, I've been playing with this spin-off of Nagios called Ikinga.
Yeah, so you mentioned this to me before.
The original Ikinga was a port of Nagios with some extra features. The latest Ikinga, called Ikinga 2, is so far beyond what Nagios does. It's kind of, I wouldn't even say that it had beginnings with Nagios. It's actually the configuration language has changed, and it's almost like a scripting language at this point. So you can do neat things. Like when you create a new service, you can say, apply this service to hosts that have these characteristics.
That's pretty cool.
Which is really, really nice, because then you can one shot it and it just applies to everything. Some of them are neat because so for instance, the disk check, if you want to check disk space, simply creating a host with an entry for a disk mount point will trigger the service to run on it. So there's different ways to do that. It's pretty slick.
Cool.
It's multi-threaded. It does multi-master. You can do all sorts, like each server you can actually install Ikinga on itself and have it as either an agent or a satellite. You can actually have satellites running checks inside of certain areas. So there's all sorts of neat stuff you can do with that. And then you can do the graphing plugins. Graphite and Grafana work with that as well.
That's cool.
So PnP for Nagios works with it also. So Graphite and Grafana are this crazy framework for collecting statistics and making pretty graphs out of them. I've only started playing with that more recently, but it does neat stuff. So do you remember RRD Tool from back in the day?
Yeah.
So this is like RRD Tool on steroids.
Nice.
It uses something called I think it's like these files are called Whisper files, some sort of data packaging setup or something, and then it creates the graphs based on those. It's pretty neat. So
that's cool.
So there's lots of tools out there. Those are certainly not the only open source ones.
You ever had any dealings with Big Brother?
Briefly.
One of the places I worked used it almost exclusively. I just tried doing some Googling to see if I could find it. It may be a dead project, or they've moved it or whatever, maybe renamed it. I don't know. I can't seem to find it. But yeah, it was. You
can't just type Big Brother into Google and find it.
Yeah, right. It was simple and effective. It didn't have the configurability of Nagios. In fact, we eventually ditched Big Brother there and went to Nagios. Not XI or anything, the old open source version. And yeah, it wasn't bad, but Nagios just had much more flexibility. It was cool.
Yeah, Nagios is neat. It's out there. It's free. I don't know what your issue was. I found Big Brother like really quickly. There's a Wikipedia entry on it.
Yeah, I found the Wikipedia entry, but I didn't find like the actual site where you can go download it. Is it linked on the Wikipedia entry?
I don't know. bb4.com. Although
that makes sense.
They say it's a dead link.
Yep. Maybe it's gone the way of the dodo.
This domain has been registered at Safe Names. It's dead. It's dead, Jim.
Dead.
And then there's this other thing that popped up called Xymon, XYMON.
This is it. This has to be it.
Xymon takes its inspiration from Big Brother.
Yeah, just looking at the page, I can tell you that this is inspired by Big Brother. This green gradient background, that was the background from Big Brother. When everything was green, the background would turn green, and when everything was yellow, or when anything was yellow, or when anything was red, it would change the color of that gradient.
Nice.
I mean, like I said, it wasn't bad. But certainly not as configurable as Nagios. And I guess they decided that it wasn't worth updating because now it's gone.
Oh, this guy has an actual page up that monitors his home network.
Nice.
In .dk, which is Denmark, maybe?
Could be.
Oh, I've seen this.
Big Brother?
Yeah, I don't know that I ever used it, but I've seen a bunch of different places use this.
I'm kind of afraid to look at the status page, pictures of the status page, because it may bring back nightmares.
Somebody has
PTSD.
Scar tissue?
Yes. Totally got Big Brother PTSD. That was not a great place to work. Oh. You know which place I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're out of business now. I guess I could say it on the air, but I won't.
Yeah, you could.
So anyway, this episode is shaping up to be really short. That was kind of the plan, but it's only 45 minutes at this point.
Yep. Yep.
So, dance, monkey, dance.
Dance, monkey, dance. We could talk about what to monitor. That's always fun.
We could, yeah. So,
ping all the things.
Ping all the things. I've recently started trying to extend monitoring for things you wouldn't normally expect to monitor, like say the status of a backup script, or something like that. It's not the sort of thing that traditionally I've seen people monitor, though I've heard of it more recently, where it's like, oh, my backup script failed. That should probably alert me in some way other than just sending an email. So I'm actually leveraging Splunk for that, because the backup writes a log file, and if the log file logs an error, I have an alert in Splunk that notifies me via Slack.
Ooh.
So
Slack,
yeah, I know.
With an email?
It's all chat opsy.
I have to go puke now.
What? Because I used the word chat ops?
Chat ops, huh?
No, I'm just trying to be buzzwordy.
You're not a millennial. Cut it out.
Yeah, right. So yeah, what to monitor? I mean, the usuals: monitor CPU, disk, memory. The things that'll make your server eat itself alive when you run out of them.
I hate it when my server eats itself alive.
Yeah. Beyond that, whatever services should be running. I mean, one of the things that Big Brother did that at least I don't do with Nagios, I don't know if you do it with anything that you, or with Ikinga that you're running, is actual process monitoring, right?
Yes, so, I have done that. Ikinga does that really, really well.
Right. So it's like you've got a client running on your machine that checks, is Apache running? Not just is port 80 listening, but is Apache actually running? And if it stops, it sends you an alert, which,
well,
cool.
one of the cool things that you can do is not only can you check if the process is running, you can actually tell it how many processes should be running, or give it a range. So you can say, like, there should always be one Apache HTTPD process.
Right. Or there should always be 8.
Right.
And if there's 7, I want to know about it.
Yep. And if it hits 10, I want to know about that too.
Right.
So you can do neat stuff like that. Memory monitoring, disk space monitoring, like all the normal stuff. One of the things that I do, I stumbled across this script, long time ago, I don't remember when, called Web Inject. And what Web Inject does is you make these little XML files. And I use it for monitoring. I have no idea if this is what you're supposed to be using Web Inject for. It just works really well. And what you put in these XML files is kind of a script of how to get to a website, things to look for on the website, and then what Web Inject will do is when it runs the script, it's almost like an expect script. So I pointed at, say, the Nagios page, the downloads page specifically, and I say, look for current release : whatever the current version number is.
Right.
And as long as that version number is there, it listed as the current release, it comes back and doesn't do anything. But the moment that fails, my monitoring system sends me an alert that says, hey, Nagios is updated.
Right. That way you can tell when there's an update available. So for apps that don't auto-update, or apps that it's not obvious when there's a new release, you have one more way to alert you when there's a change or when there's a new version.
And writing those alerts, or writing those XML files, is there's an art to it. It gets interesting trying to figure out how to identify what's on the page and alert if that specific thing changes or moves, or depending on how the website is laid out. But the other neat thing that you can do is some software, actually a lot of software these days, they have like a update check within the software itself.
Yeah.
So GitLab does this, for instance. GitLab goes out to a website, a well-known website. You can find the URL in the source code, and it says, hey, I'm currently running version X. Is there an update? and what is the severity. So theirs is more of a service than just a report, but you can
Right.
script it to go out there and do sort of the same thing and then send you an alert based on the results. And those are nice because then you're not having to parse a full HTML page. It's usually a very small, either just a direct response like JSON or even just raw text, and it makes it a little bit easier to sort of parse that.
Cool.
What else are we monitoring these days?
Another thing you could pretty easily monitor would be like an API endpoint that gives you some sort of status of your application, right? So if you have an application that has a built-in API, or you're writing an application, you can build your own API that you can ask it for certain, health checks or whatever and report back. That's pretty easy to get with just something as simple as curl. You don't even need to write a crazy script to make that happen.
Right.
So that's useful stuff.
And you can go down the path of more once you get the basic, ping and HTTP checks and stuff in, you can go a little bit more advanced. And this is where things like PNP for Nagios and Graphite and Grafana come in. Every check that you do more than likely has some sort of metadata associated with it. So for a ping, you've got the round trip time.
Yeah.
For a website check, you've got the response time, you've got the size of the page that comes back, you've got the codes, all that information is metadata, and you can start collecting that. And some of it makes sense to graph. So graphing the ping times, the response times over a period of time can give you feedback on how the machine is running. Same with things like disk load or disk space and load and memory and stuff. They're all useful to be in graph format.
The thing to think about, though, is when does your monitoring system become more than just a monitoring system, and now it's actually like a statistics system?
Yep.
Right? So those are good things to check, but some of those applications, like I'm talking about, that have APIs, you could also pull that sort of data. I'll use Red Hat Virtualization as an example. It has an API, and I can ask it to give me just about anything that the web admin UI can give me, right? And that includes like the number of running VMs or the status of a VM or this or that. There's all kinds of stuff, right? It doesn't necessarily make sense to use Nagios to monitor all of that and graph all of that. But it might still make sense to monitor and graph all that, right? So you have to sort of draw that distinction. Should this be in your monitoring system, or should it be in a system that's dedicated to gathering statistics?
Yep. So the Graphite system is actually a statistics system. So what would happen in that case is Nagios would collect those stats and pass it over to Graphite for longer term storage. And you can do interesting, nifty things with that.
Cool.
The nice part is that depending on how you set it up, and depending on how your system is running, you can actually use those sorts of statistics to feed back into the monitoring system and do trend analysis. So you can look at, so you have a threshold, right? So say you're checking memory, and the box has, 128 gigs of memory. So you put a threshold in that says, when I hit 100 gigs of memory, send an alert because something's wrong. But normally the box is running much lower, like 50 gigs or 60 gigs. And generally speaking, you'll get spikes up to, 70, 80. It's not a big deal for it to spike and go back down. But you want to know if, on average, you're at 60 and it starts creeping up over time. You can come up with algorithms to identify, like, hey, I haven't hit 120 gig, but over the past, X amount of time, the amount of memory in use has started climbing and it's not going back down.
Could indicate a memory leak or some other sort of a problem.
You can get like early warning system type stuff.
Or even say you normally run at 60 gig and all of a sudden you're running normally at 65 gig now.
Right.
That could indicate something has changed.
Right.
Right. whether it's good or bad, something's changed.
Right.
And that might be something that's worth looking at. Why am I all of a sudden using 5 more gig of memory?
Yep. So things for memory, CPU, disk. I mean, a lot of those different systems. That's really good information to have. If your latency to your website jumps and stays jumped for some reason, like over time,
Yes.
like you kind of want to know
Yes.
that.
We've actually caught problems this way. So I won't get into too many details, but we monitor webmail for our Zimbra install. And response times to webmail will affect a number of other things that depend on API calls to Zimbra. So that's like our canary in the coal mine. If the response time on Zimbra webmail starts to spike, then we know that it's going to cause other downstream problems. And when we start seeing alerts from those other downstream systems, we know that it's because of the Zimbra spike. And of course, the problem isn't the downstream systems; it's whatever's making Zimbra respond slowly.
Right.
So, but yeah, we actually not long ago had a problem where that was the exact culprit of a number of weird problems, but we didn't have monitoring nailed down tightly enough. Zimbra was responding like to a person logging into webmail. It seemed okay, right? At first, but the response time was just high enough that there was a problem that you just weren't noticing, right? So we tweaked that a bit so that we actually get an alert before it's a problem, and then we can go address it. So
Zimbra is a good instance where monitoring things like all the different queues that you have are really useful. So if you start seeing the queues that represent mail that's pending, that's been deferred. So the deferred queue is a great one to watch, because
the hold
once
queue,
that's,
especially if you're doing rate limiting, right?
Yep.
So the hold queue is a great thing to monitor.
Once the deferred queue starts climbing, it's a pretty good indicator of somebody who's had an account that's been compromised.
Yes. Same deal with the hold queue. If you're doing rate limiting, if someone's sending way too much mail, you'll start seeing it pile up in the hold queue. Also, deferred mail for bounce backs, whether you're compromised or not. If you have a whole lot of bounce messages, you usually indicate some sort of a problem. So yeah, that's all good stuff to check. I mean, you and I actually wrote, what was that? We were checking for, so like our outbound spam filter would send a notice to a mailbox when a certain threshold was hit on something. I forget the details now. And you and I wrote a little Nagios plugin that would monitor that mailbox.
Yep. Yeah, whenever a mail showed up, it would trigger an alert based on the presence of an email.
Yeah. Now there may be better ways to do that, but that was the best way to skin that particular cat.
Yeah, and like I said, with Nagios and also with Kinga 2 and with a lot of what I would call good monitoring systems, the ability to write a script, any language, but the ability to write a script and interface with that monitoring system allows you to monitor damn near anything.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
you can script it, you can monitor it.
You can write a script and you can return the proper codes based on what Nagios expects the script to return. Then, yeah, you can monitor just about anything.
So monitoring in a nutshell. Go monitor all the things.
Monitoring in a nutshell. We did. It's not quite monitoring, but it's sort of related. We got a request a while back, and I hope this person is still listening. But we got a request a while back to review Elk Stack.
Elk. Yes. Okay.
So maybe we'll do a future show on that. I don't know enough about it, and I didn't at the time that he wrote us, and I still don't. So
yeah, I don't either, but it's becoming popular enough that I need to learn it.
Yeah, it's popular enough that I'd like to look into it, and as we do, maybe it'll be a show. So if you're still watching or listening, maybe it'll come up.
Yep.
I'm not going to promise anything yet because we're both really freaking busy. And dear Lord, is it too hot up here? I think we've talked about monitoring enough.
I think I've lost all of the weight I put on drinking that beer.
Yeah, I burnt all the calories as you drank it.
Yep. Yes, and I blame all of this on my wife, who kept asking, "Where is summer? Where is summer? It's too cold out. Where is summer?"
Well, it came all at once.
Oh, it did.
I saw somebody on Twitter said that the temperature in New York today was like 102.
I was not in New York today, so I know no such thing.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me.
I don't know how New York would be any hotter than Pennsylvania, but I guess if that's the way the weather flows, whatever.
The wind patterns are weird. So when you're on the street, sometimes there's no crosswinds or anything. So
Oh,
it's
right.
sort of a stagnant heat.
So if it's just like this stifling, hot, humid day and there's no wind because the buildings block it all, yeah, I guess.
Yep.
Yep.
So
All right. Well, I
good
guess
times.
that's a night. That's
That is
a
a
show
night.
for tonight. Now I can say goodnight, right? Can I say goodnight
You
now?
could. You can say goodnight now.
I could. First, I'm gonna say
What you should
that
do is splice the goodnight from the beginning of the
I
show at
will.
the end of the show.
That's what I'll do. That's what I'll do. Anyway, first, what I'll do is I'll say that if you want to watch us record this stuff live, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the little bell, and the Google dirigible will come out and let you know when we go live.
Ooh,
So go do that right now.
there's a Google dirigible?
Yeah, totally. That's how that bell works, right?
Oh, cool.
There's a guy in a dirigible that has a bell. Isn't that what that's for?
I guess.
I've never seen the dirigible. I assume he's just really busy.
Ah, okay. Gotcha.
As I mentioned earlier, we also have a Slack workspace. There is a link to it on ironsysadmin.com, which is our website. You can feel free to join. I have a link up there that'll get you right to the join page. You don't have to like ask for an invite or anything silly. If you want to spam us, you could probably do it that way too, but we'll probably ban you like the BOFH that we are. You can find us on Twitter. You can look for us on Facebook too, but I never post anything there. So sorry, Facebook
Did you
users.
hear that? Hear that ding? That was my monitoring system.
Hey, cool. I didn't hear it because I was busy talking. Maybe the recording picked it up. I don't know.
Maybe.
Subscribe to the show wherever you find podcasts. If you're listening to this, you've probably already done so. So thank you for that. And
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Last but not least, if you'd like to support the show, feel free to do so on Patreon. We are appreciative of anything that you can send us. We've lost a couple patrons lately. We're still making just enough to cover the S3 bucket. It'd be nice if we were making just a little more. I'm not going to beg you guys for money, but I'm just saying that podcasts have expenses, and it would be really nice if we could at least break even at the moment.
Tell your friends, tell your relatives, and if you have neither of those, buy some more phones, devices, and register those too.
Yes. Subscribe everywhere. So, at any rate, I think that's a show for tonight, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We didn't get any chats tonight, but I did see a viewer or two pop in. So that's cool. They seem to be gone now. They must have lost interest.
Yeah, well, I'm boring.
You're boring. It's because Dustin's not here talking about his useless nibbles.
Wow.
All right, on that, I think we're going to call it a night. Good night, folks.
That all.
All right. Stop the broadcast.